Welcome to Communication Supports for Aphasia. Hi, my name is Madeline St. Croix. I'm a speech-language pathologist working in healthcare in Western Newfoundland. This event is for anyone who would like more information on how to help someone who has trouble communicating with others due to aphasia. In this session, I will give a definition of aphasia, its causes, and the situations in which it occurs. Next, I will list ways to help your conversations go better with a person who has this challenge. You will then see a video of family members sharing their experience using supportive strategies to help their conversations with a loved one who has an aphasia. Finally, you will see a list of useful links to further aphasia resources which I found very helpful in preparing this topic. I appreciate your interest and welcome any questions or comments you may have along the way. Aphasia is a problem with any or all of the communication skills of speaking, listening, reading, or writing. It is caused by damage to the language-dominant area of the brain, which for most of us is located on the left side. It can happen due to a variety of things, including stroke, head injury, brain tumor, infection, or dementia. Today, I am focusing on the single most frequent cause of aphasia, which is stroke. At least 30% of people who have a stroke will have some type of aphasia. The degree of aphasia ranges from mild to severe, depending on the size and location of the disruption or blockage to the blood vessels in the brain. It's very important to know that aphasia makes a person look less competent than they really are. The fact of the matter is that a person with a stroke-related aphasia was no different than you or I on the day before their stroke occurred. People with aphasia know much more than they can say, and they can usually communicate their own decisions and feelings when they have the proper communication supports in place. When a person with an aphasia is given the opportunity to speak for themselves versus having someone else speak for them, they have better health outcomes. And this is something we all want to have. Many now recognize that giving communication supports to someone with aphasia so that they can enter into conversations is really no different than giving a wheelchair ramp to someone who has a physical impairment so that they can enter into a building. So let's talk some more about those communication strategies to support someone to have successful conversations. First of all, you should assume that the person you're speaking with is a competent adult, and this person may know much more than they can say. In this way, you should speak to them in a straightforward and adult-appropriate manner. Secondly, you should make it easy for the person to listen and understand what you are saying in the conversation by speaking in simple, clear, everyday language. You should also back up what you are saying by showing the person pictures or using gestures or large printed key words. The bottom line is you want to make things simple and clear. Third, you should make it easy for the person to express themselves by asking yes or no questions, offering them the option of acting out, pointing to pictures, or drawing their answers, and of course by giving them the extra time they may need to respond. Finally, it is very important to make sure that the message you got from the conversation was actually the message that was intended. So you can do this by simply repeating back what you understood in the conversation and by asking the person to tell you yes or no that that was what they really meant to say. Another option is to have them print or draw what you understood, and again, you seek yes or no answers to see if that was what was intended. In this case, I can show you an example of how you can try to figure out if what you understood from your question, what would you like for supper, was really what the person wanted. So you would say something like, I understand you would like to have steak for supper. And if you show this to the person, you could say, please tell me yes or no that you do want to have steak. And of course, it's always nice when you're out at a restaurant if you can order for yourself and get actually what you would like to have. The Aphasia Institute in Ontario teaches extensively on the use of these techniques and much more as part of their formal approach entitled Supported Conversation for Adults with Aphasia, also known as SCA. I provide a link to this valuable resource at the end of this topic. In our province of Newfoundland and Labrador, stroke affects at least 1,200 people each and every year. And at least 360 of these people will have an aphasia. In the next clip, you will see a conversation between two family members sharing their experience using communication support strategies to help a loved one who experienced an aphasia.
Hi, my name is Diane McCarthy. This is my sister, Maureen McCarthy-Eddy.
Hi.
Our father had multiple strokes. He's since passed, but we're here to talk to you about ways to deal with aphasia. Dad had multiple strokes, and he lost his ability to communicate orally. It was extremely frustrating, not only for him, but for us as well, because when he spoke to us, even though it was incoherent to us, to him, it was not incoherent. He knew exactly what he was saying, and he couldn't understand why we didn't understand him, which made it frustrating for everybody involved. So we decided to take a couple of meetings with Madeline, a speech pathologist, and she showed us some ways to learn how to communicate with someone who doesn't have the ability to talk. So with that, I'm going to introduce you to Maureen, and she's going to tell you a little bit about how we learned how to communicate with Dad. Because sometimes it would take 3 days, 3 visits, to finally understand what he was trying to say.
One thing that he was concerned about, very worried about, and he would get very, very frustrated, very upset, because in his brain, he knew what he was trying to say, but what was coming out of his mouth was different. And we didn't really understand that so much until we met with Madeline, the speech pathologist, whose advice to us was invaluable, and the information and tools that she gave us. It allowed us to use different types of tools to ask our father, is this what you want to say? Is this what you're asking about? And Dad would say, yes, yes. Use gestures. And he would say yes, or he'd be, no. And we knew exactly what he meant. But we had to learn to use the right questions. And that's what Madeline helped us with. She gave us pictures with words underneath, and we could show it to him, like the one with the glasses. Like he would say, okay, well, did you lose your glasses? Is that what you're, no, right? And he would use his gestures and we could narrow things down. We also used a notepad and a marker. We had it on the bedside table all the time. He was not without one, and he didn't use it much. But we wrote on it, and he'd take it and he would point to what he wanted. We would say, is there something in the house, Dad? Is there something in the shed you're worried about? And he couldn't say shed. He couldn't say house. But he wanted
He
to.
could not, and he could say
Yes. And is it something in the basement? Did you have a visitor? What are all these new things in your room? Where did they come from? Did you get a package? And no. And he said he was trying really hard to tell us. And actually, Madeline was with us at that visit. And she helped us and him work that out. And Dad used his gestures, and he pointed to the floor. And he was like, and we said, here?
someone was here.
Here? Someone was here. Oh, this stuff didn't come as a package in the mail. It was enlightening, so enlightening and refreshing to be able to understand what he was trying to say to us. Because we're like, you didn't get a package in the mail? No, Dad, no. And so we knew then that someone had been to visit, brought these things for him. We knew who it was. And this is how we did it. And those little cards that Madeline had done up for us, she had them laminated.
Well, Maureen had a bunch of little notepads, and they were themed.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So if it was something to do with family, there were specific people written down.
Mm-hmm.
Or specific things about family that he might want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
If it had something to do with the house, it started with the house and then went to what parts of the house. And could it be about money in the house?
Yes.
And, did you need me to pay the bills?
Exactly.
Boom. And it didn't take 3 days.
Because you don't always think about those things when you're sitting there.
Yeah.
But if you have it written on your notepad, you have your general subjects and topics, you know what he worries about and what he's concerned about.
Yeah.
And then you kind of like, okay, well, you have this many topics, but you break each one down. And that gives you more answers to what it is he's wanting to know, right?
Yeah. It really helped us a lot. Because I know I left his room a few times quite upset. Because I just couldn't get it. I didn't understand what he was trying to say. And after 3 days, I said, it's something about the house. Yes. I said, is it about your house? No. I said, is it about my house? Yes. I said, are you worried that you're going to be coming to my house when you get out of the hospital? Yes. I said,
3 days.
Of course you're coming to the house. As soon as they release you.
That's what he
He was so overwhelmed because it took 3 days for me to figure that out. But once we met with Madeline, we learned how to communicate in a more effective way with our father.
We used the tools she gave us, and they helped us so much. She spent 3 days trying to figure out what it was he wanted. He was frustrated for those 3 days. He didn't know what to do with himself. He could not get across what he was trying to say. And when we used Madeline's tools and we said, well, is it this, is it this, is it this? We showed him pictures. Do you need to see the doctor? Do you need to go to the bathroom? Like those types of things.
Yeah.
And it was such a tremendous help. I would recommend it to anybody that if you have a person who's experiencing aphasia and they cannot communicate with you, that you see a speech pathologist. We had no idea how invaluable the resources were. They are there. The resources are there for you. They don't cost you anything. They're part of your MCP, and you won't be sorry.
And simply because somebody doesn't have the ability to communicate with you, they've had a stroke, it doesn't mean they're non-functional, right? They know what they're trying to say. They just don't have the ability to say it.
They understand.
They do understand what you're talking about.
The comprehension is good.